1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, so my name is Sam Liggett, and I'm doing my speech over the Affordable Care Act, problem and solution. Signed into law by former President Barack Obama in March of 2010, the Affordable Care Act, also known as ObamaCare, has been the topic of debate for over 7 years. The goal of ObamaCare was to offer and make sure that every American has health insurance. Over time, the goal was to lower the cost of health care, which would reduce the growing cost of Medicare and Medicaid, which threatens to take over the federal budget. To begin, I know that this topic has split opinions, and a lot of you just agree with whichever political party that you support. Last August, a poll was done by the Kaiser Family Federation, also known as the KFF, and 52% of Americans now have a favorable view of the 2010 law. The opposition to the law dropped from 44% of Americans to 39%. Another study by the KFF was done last year, which asked Americans who is to blame for the current status and problems with the law. 60% of Americans blame the Trump administration, while 28% of Americans put Obama and his administration in blame. I'm here today to propose why I think that the Affordable Care Act should be repealed and replaced and/or amended. Obamacare was passed by the U.S. Congress in response to a wide range of systematic problems that have plagued the healthcare system for years in the U.S. The sole purpose of the act was to achieve universal health and medical insurance coverage for all Americans and lower the cost of healthcare nationally. The ACA does propose benefits. Millions of Americans who were unable to secure reasonably priced health care before the law was passed were able to do so in the passage of the act. Half of the uninsured American health care consumers can now obtain health insurance free or at a low cost. There are now more private coverage options and major coverage options that provide the minimal essential coverage that you need. This is great news for the people who have a low income. One thing that is great for most citizens, rich or poor, is that health insurers are not allowed to make unjustified rate increases due to age, gender, or type of sickness, whether it be a pre-existing health condition. Another benefit for families with health insurance is the fact that now children are allowed to remain on their parents' plan until they're 26 years old. But with anything, when there are advantages, there are also a lot of disadvantages. And in my opinion, these disadvantages must be fixed or the policy must be replaced. The part that receives the most criticism is the individual mandate that all U.S. citizens must purchase health insurance or they are forced to pay a tax penalty at the end of the year. This, in my opinion, should not be forced by the government because for people who do not qualify for Medicaid, for people who do not qualify for Medicaid because they make over the minimum or make over the maximum, but are younger than 65 and do not qualify for Medicare, are now forced to purchase health insurance that they may not want nor ever use. The ones who decide not to get health insurance will face a 2.5% tax on their 2018 gross fixed income, according to the balance. Because the Act covers pre-existing health conditions, the increased cost required to provide health care for them will increase insurance premiums as well as deductibles. Due to the rise of lower income citizens receiving free health care, this creates an increase for the working American, an increase in taxes for the working American. The insurance agencies that are on the Obamacare plan are receiving an increase in people signing up for health care, and according to the Atlantic, Blue Cross Blue Shield is spending $1.20 for every dollar it collects in premiums, which is an unsustainable ratio for a business. This is why so many healthcare providers are pulling out of the ObamaCare plan all over the nation. This nationwide pullout by providers is leaving only one provider in over 1,000 cities across the nation. This creates a monopoly for the insurer that this creates a monopoly for the insurer that which leads to higher monthly premiums and higher deductibles. According to an interview with Tom Price, a Republican senator out of Georgia, the premiums have not only doubled, they've doubled, as well as the deductibles have skyrocketed with the rise of healthcare monopolies. Healthcare providers are hurting as well, and with this exchange, and in return are providing lower quality healthcare for citizens, which in return affects everybody. The argument for pre-existing health conditions usually arises when it comes to the ACA, or the Affordable Care Act. Before the act was in place, many citizens with serious illnesses had a tough time finding a health care provider that would accept them. Now healthcare insurers cannot turn people down, and to me that's a lifesaver for some American citizens. But what that does now is that it forces insurers to accept these high-risk pools of people, which then leads to the insurer charging higher premiums in order to cover the cost for the pool of people that are high risk. To me, the ACA, or the Affordable Care Act, has done exactly opposite of what it was proposed to do, which is bring down health insurance for the nation as well as bring down health insurance for the nation with higher premiums and deductibles than ever before. More and more people are deciding not to get health insurance and instead pay the penalty, which would be cheaper for a healthier individual. This in itself defeats the whole purpose of this act, and this is why the government must either repeal or replace the ACA or work towards amending the issues that are broken.